Welcome to our second session of the User-Centric EA Portfolios Focus Week. Today we'll be covering the topic of capability portfolio management. Since capabilities are one of the fundamental building blocks of a business, we thought it would be good to take a closer look at them right at the beginning of this Focus Week. We'll be diving into business capability portfolios and exploring how you can achieve the visibility you need with your business capabilities. For this purpose, my colleague Georgia Ostoich will show you how you can document and analyze capabilities in ADOIT and use them to derive appropriate measures. My name is Tiana Karadzic. I'm your host for today's session, and I'll be presenting you the possible next steps after the presentation. I'll leave it at that for now so that Georgia can get started with the session. Enjoy.
Thank you, Tiana, for the introduction. I would also like to welcome you to this webinar from my side, and I'm looking forward to introducing you to our capability portfolio management presentation. Now let's have a look at the agenda. As you can see, first I would like to introduce you to the topic itself, after which I will show you how to tackle it using ADOIT, and finally we will have a brief outlook into other Focus Week contributions. Now, I hope some of you have already had a chance to attend some of our previous webinars that covered the topic of portfolios with Archimate, where our colleagues introduced you to enterprise architecture management, but maybe just a short summary of that. So each organization consists of different architecture levels, from transformation architecture and business architecture, data and application architecture, all the way to technology architecture. And each of these levels consists of their own objects and artifacts, such as business processes, business interfaces, business skills, and so on. And of course, all of them interact with each other throughout the organization. Now, if we want to define, manage, or optimize these artifacts, we can use portfolios. You can see them on the right-hand side. And you can also notice that each architectural level is mapped to a respective portfolio management. Today, we will focus on capability portfolio management. So let's see some more information about it. That is, some definitions that will help us understand the concept. And let's begin with the TOGAF definition of a capability, which says that a capability is an ability that an organization, a person, or a system possesses. Another useful one that we use throughout BOC Group is that a capability represents a competence that an organization or a group of organizations possesses or aims to possess. As we can see, competence is very much in focus, but for the provision and use of these capabilities, we need a bundle of resources, which often consist of people, organizations, processes, data, and technologies. Now, from the best practices point of view, we can define a capability as something that can be done. So the focus is not on how, on a who or why, but on what. And while a capability deals with that question, a process can, for example, explain how a capability can be implemented. Now that we are familiar with the concept, let's move on to introduction to capability portfolio management. I would like to explain it to you using different steps that will help us understand it, beginning with different stakeholders, then moving on to typical questions and methods within viewpoints, and finally the results. Now let's start with stakeholders and business roles. So this is a topic that deals with a matter of who should fulfill which requirements throughout the organization, which information do they need to do so, and so on. As you can see, these are some of the typical representatives. We have an enterprise architect as a central business role. And for enterprise architects, it is extremely important to evaluate transformation projects and to be able to plan them. But other than architects, other important roles include application owners, process owners, data owners, and so on. And they each bring a certain knowledge to their individual capabilities. In the lower area, we can see that there are all possible management and project roles, and they all need an overview of the capability map in order to understand the connections and dependencies between different projects within the organization. They can then use this knowledge for further planning and leading the organization. Next, we will focus on the typical questions concerning capability portfolio management. So mainly which questions it can help us answer and what we can learn from it. Of course, central and most general question is what capabilities does the organization have at all? But we also need to focus on which of them are worthy of further investments, especially when thinking about the organization's future. Other than that, it is also important to focus on what differentiates us from our competitors. What do we have that they don't? So what is our competitive advantage? But not only that, but also which stakeholders do we need to achieve our competitive advantage? Which business processes or technologies or equipment are necessary to secure this competitive advantage? And of course, which technologies, processes, and applications do we need to achieve a business goal or to implement our business strategy? Yeah, moving on to the methods. First of all, we of course need to identify the capabilities, and we do so by defining a scope, which means we need to decide which area we will focus on. Maybe furthermore, what does our organization do? What does it or what do our products offer to our clients? And which competencies we need to fulfill that? We also need to think of our vision and mission. We need to have them in mind to see if we should add something, if we should change something, if we missed something, and so on. Second step is documenting these capabilities. So in order to have a clear overview of each of our capabilities, it can be useful to create a company map where we can see how those capabilities that we documented are connected to each other, if they interact, and to just see the structure of the capabilities. Next step is analyzing and assessing the capabilities. And to do so, we first, of course, need to define a general criteria for evaluating. And then we need to introduce how big and how strategically important our capabilities are, whether or not they are fit enough, business or technology-wise, how suitable they are for reaching our goal, and for, of course, following our business strategy. And lastly, we need to derive the measures. So we need to distinguish how we can optimize our capabilities, what do we need to do to improve them, who needs to do so, and simply just we need to describe the transformation project. Now, we use Artimate meta model as a basis. It provides us with quite a lot of concepts where, of course, a capability is a central artifact. Naturally, we are focused on its ability to achieve a certain goal, but we also need to focus on how to realize this capability, which means what are the processes that we need to do. So which applications do we need? Which roles need to drive this, as well as which skills they need to possess, and also which objects or equipments are required. And we come to the results, where the focus is, of course, on how we can use the data that we have collected and mapped, how we can transfer this information that we gained throughout the organization. And we can do so by using different formats, such as different sorts of analysis, like matrix analysis, business impact analysis, application roadmaps, and so on. But I will talk more about this in the tool demo. So I'd suggest let's just switch right to it. Yeah, so this is my welcoming map. This is a map consisting of capabilities that I have already recorded in my repository. And You can see how they are grouped, and you can see why it is very nice to have them organized in this manner, as this gives us a clear overview of where they are used, how many of them they are, if they're in the same department, and whatnot. But if we want to go in more detail, we can just go to capabilities themselves, and here all the capabilities are listed. As you can see, we have plenty recorded here, and they are all grouped to a certain extent. So for example, we have capabilities that are used for product and service management, some customer-oriented capabilities or shared capabilities, or so on. And if we want to concentrate on one type only, we can just enter it here in a filter. Let's say we need the product and service management capabilities. Yeah, so they're listed here. Or you can use another filter. If you know a name of the capability that you wish to analyze, you can simply enter it here and it will be listed down there. So if we want to find out more about a certain capability, we can click on its insights dashboard, which will lead us to here. And first, of course, we can still see the group here, but here we can see some business insights. For example, how strategically important the capability is. As you can see, this one in particular is pretty important. And we can also see its IT or business fit or other factors. Along with that, we can see which processes are used to realize this capability and how they are assessed, so what the process assessment is. We can also see what applications are needed to realize a capability and their lifecycle state here in the pie chart as well. Then we can see, in which state our capability currently is, some data insights, and just the most general and pretty detailed insight into one particular capability. But if we want to analyze it further, we can go to Analyze Dependencies, which will lead us to a graphical editor where we can choose to see how this application is realized by simply choosing the applications that we see it's connected with, or for example, the processes. Place them in the editor, and we have a pretty detailed overview, graphical overview of our capability and what is needed for it to be realized. Now, another way that we can analyze our capabilities, and maybe as a whole, is we can use our search option and limit our search to capabilities only. We will get a list here, after which we can analyze them all together. And we have different views to do so. We have a box-in-a-box approach, a bubble chart, Gantt chart, and matrix view. And let's for now choose a box-in-a-box. We can add an element here. Choose capabilities and apply. And we will get a classical box-in-a-box presentation of our capabilities. But if we want to, for example, also see here how these capabilities are realized, which applications they use to do so, we can choose it right here and apply. And now we can see the capabilities and which applications are used for realizing this capability. Now, we can also delete this and only stay with the capabilities, and we can use our coloring scheme to see, for example, how strategically important which capability is. We can also change the colors here as we want. So we can choose, I don't know, black for very high instead of red, or something like that. We can also see its business fit, for example, what their status is, and so on. Yeah, and more than that, we can maybe use a matrix view. For the capabilities, we of course need to set the configuration here. I'm choosing capability and through how is it realized, through which application components. And we will apply these changes. So now, yeah, here we have a matrix view of our capabilities and application components, and we can see which applications are needed for which of those capabilities. But we can also see another thing, and that is if one application is used to realize more than one application, which we can see that it is often a case. Yeah, so that would be it from the tool side point of view. As I said in the beginning, we would like to show you, to offer you a brief outlook of the other Focus Week contributions. So we had our enterprise architecture portfolios with Archimate and our business capability management. And coming up, our application portfolio management, data portfolio management, and technology portfolio management. And in conclusion, to circle it all, comes the ADOIT ecosystem. I hope you will attend some of them, and I hope you will enjoy them as much as I hope that you enjoyed this one and that this presentation was helpful and useful to you. Thank you for your attention, and moving back to Diana.
Thank you very much, Georgia. Capabilities should definitely not be neglected, because it is exactly here that you can strategically align and advance your company with the necessary insight. You can lay down the groundwork for your capability portfolio management directly in our free ADOIT Community Edition and quickly get started without any major hurdles. For those of you already using ADOIT, no matter if you're interested in getting started with capability portfolio management or just looking to improve your existing documentation and making the best use of it, please get in touch with our team of experts and they'll be happy to support you. In our next session, we'll be going down one level of detail and exploring what it takes to get your application portfolio under control. See you there.